Let me ask you, congregation, have you been looking? Have you been searching? Have you been praying for a podcast about Kentucky basketball and football? Yes! A show that will speak to you. A show built for you. Something powerful, fun, real, raw, and opinionated. Well, baby, open up your ears as we open up our minds. Let's do this, baby. Let's do it. Welcome to Religiously Kentucky. If it's Kentucky football and basketball, we are all about it. And we're talking about it. And we're damn sure opinionated about it. This is Religiously Kentucky. And now your hosts, Jay Hayes, the Wild Child, and J.D. Hall, the voice of reason.
Big Blue Nation, what is up? I'm your guy, Jay Hayes, and he is
the voice of reason, J.D. Hall.
And we are Religiously Kentucky. What is up?
What's going on, man?
Hey, just try not to slip like an old transmission. Hey, real quick, shout out to Kentucky track and field.
Yeah, women's team, yes. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Saturday finished third overall as a team. And then you go and you look and you watch what Abby Steiner did. She ran in 4 events, 4 medals. And that third leg that she ran,
he was way behind.
And that was the 4x4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That third leg that she ran was crazy. For where she took the baton, to where she passed the baton, was crazy.
They were way behind. I was like, no, she's not catching.
Well, and her leg in the 4x4,
she's catching. She's passing them. Oh shit!
And her leg in the 4x1 was crazy too.
Yeah,
so
she's got rollers, man.
And then you see what then she just did what she always does in the 200.
Yeah, the 200 is her
and just casually set a collegiate record.
Yeah,
and winning the medal there. So we've been lucky the last 4 or 5 years to be able to watch greatness.
Yeah.
From especially our women's track and field. You got Sydney McLaughlin, who's probably the best hurdler in the world.
Yep.
And it just moves on to Abby Steiner, who's one of the best 200-meter runners in the world.
Yeah.
And we get to see that as a fan base of Kentucky on a weekly basis when they're competing. And it's crazy to me to see that happen year over year with it. And it's not just Abby Steiner. Like the 4x4 won their relay pretty convincingly.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean that Steiner leg and the closing leg were big parts to it.
Right.
But they did that. You win those events as a team.
Yeah.
They finished second in the 4x1. You win and you perform that well as a team. So it's not just individually. And I think Sydney McLaughlin ran the 4x4 when she was at Kentucky too. Wasn't she on that same relay?
I think so, but I'm not for sure.
I'm not sure. I know one person that would know.
Yeah, Van. You got to ask
Van. He absolutely would know. But they're not just competing in individual events; they're competing in team events too.
Right.
To get the success for the team. So
they've been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely congratulations on this past weekend and just amazing to watch.
Right.
Moving right along into Kentucky teasing with new jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was the Kentucky might have been athletics.
It was one of them that put that video out of all the uniforms over the last, 10, 12 years, whatever.
Right,
20 years.
Teasing new uniforms.
Mm-hmm. And if you follow Kyle Tucker, he said to look towards the Rondo era jerseys for kind of what the new jerseys are going to look like. And if that's the case, fans are going to be pretty happy.
Right.
Because that's kind of what fans have been asking for is something that's kind of a throwback type jersey,
right?
Like some other schools.
Does the checkerboard? Does it bother you?
Honestly, no. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I understand people do, but me, I don't make that big of a deal out of it. Like,
right.
There's some people. It's like, oh my god, this administration the administration has to go because the checkerboards have been here for 6 years or whatever.
Right, and
I really don't care.
Make the claim that it's a curse.
Yeah, they do.
Since we've been wearing them, that really not been doing that good. I mean, we've been doing good though, so I don't.
Right. But me personally, no, I don't. It doesn't bother me. I don't care. I'm not going to stop cheering for my team or bitch and moan about the freaking uniforms. There's other things to worry about at times for your team other than what they're wearing.
Let me ask you this. So do you think that Kentucky should get uniforms every year? I mean, because looking at the Nike contract, millions and millions. Now I've seen other articles come out and say it's worth $47 million, but I looked at the Nike contract and it's $30.6 million, and then you get annual 1.8, and then it increases over the time. But they signed an extension, I think, in 2015 to go through 2025. So when you're getting $1 to $2.4 million a year, and now that's for equipment and apparel, I think that's a lot of damn money. And why isn't the gold standard University of Kentucky getting new uniforms every year? Damn, it's every game. I mean, when you're talking that kind of money,
But Kentucky also isn't the flagship program for Nike.
Right.
Oregon.
It's number 7.
Right.
Best Nike deals.
But I don't get tore up about jerseys and whether or not they're getting them new every year.
Yeah, I think getting new. I think a lot of money.
I think getting new jerseys.
A lot of money.
It is, but I think getting new jerseys every single year is too much.
Right.
Because now you're, as a university, as a program, you're putting out new jerseys every year. So now you're kind of expecting your fans to go out and buy a new jersey every year.
Right.
So if you're doing that every year, now your fans that are going to go out and buy a jersey when you get a new uniform, if it's every 2 years or 3 years or whatever, aren't going to do it because they just bought one last year. So why are they going to go buy another one this year?
Right.
Because if we're being honest, that's really what drives getting new jerseys is the revenue that you're going to get from your fans going out and buying those replica jerseys at the store, off Nike.com, whatever. That's a big driving point for new jerseys.
Do the fans have a say so? Because I listened to the Twitter space, and Van, actually came out and said, the fan really doesn't have a say so in that.
That's where I'm leaning. Like, we have zero input whether or not they get new jerseys or not. Right
now, I got
the only way your input is thought of by the athletic department and the school is how much money you're spending on jerseys.
Exactly.
That's where your input comes from.
Exactly.
And people are still buying the checkerboard jerseys. So it's not like people aren't going out and buying them.
Right. But the fan has a say so, because without the fan, there is no selling of the jerseys. There is no tickets to the game. There is no viewership for television.
But as far as a direct input into whether or not they get new jerseys,
right? They have no direct input.
Bitching on Twitter, sending an email to Mitch Barnhart's not going to change anything. They're not going to be like, "Oh, wow, look at the uproar on Twitter. We got to get these guys new jerseys."
As a whole, you put say you put a poll out there and asking Mitch Barnhart, asking, "Hey, do you like this? Do you like this?" Yes, and whatever percent, they might take some consideration into that, because they know without the fan, then
Right.
you're just out there playing for fun.
Right.
You know, you take away, so I don't want to dismiss that the fan has no voice or no.
But the voice isn't a direct voice. It's an
Right.
indirect voice by the
Right.
money you're spending on buying the jerseys, and fans are still buying the jerseys.
Fans
So-
still got the checkerboard.
So if fans are still buying the jerseys, your program is not going to rush through
Right.
new jerseys for the program. The only people that are going to have a direct say and a direct input on whether or not you get new jerseys, it's going to be the players and it's going to be the administration. That's it.
Right.
So
where does that money go?
it's
If
going
you're
to
not-
it's
if you're
going
not
to all
buying
like
the apparel.
it's going to this like what okay. What money are you talking about? Are you talking about the money that Nike gives, or are you talking
Yeah.
about the money that fan? Okay,
The contract, the
it's going-
30.6 million.
but it's not just money that they're
They
giving.
got a signing bonus and they
But
get 2.
But again, it's not just
4
that,
million a
that
year.
amount. When you say 30 point whatever million,
Yeah.
it's
That's
not
over a
strictly,
stretch.
but it's not strictly cash. That includes like
Right.
the shoes, the shirts, the jackets, the warm-ups, all that stuff is included in that dollar amount. It's not
Right.
so there's
The
to-
2.4
yes,
million
it's a
is
lot of-
cash annually.
and that's a lot, but that's
Yeah.
also to replenish other things.
That's
So
a
it's not
lot of
but-
money.
But they're
But
not
I
going to
totally
give you.
get what you're saying.
You're not going
Right.
to give. They're not going to give you that money to turn around and give right back to them for the new jerseys.
Right.
So that money has nothing to do with Kentucky buying new jerseys. That's money that's going to go to Calipari. That's going to go to. They're going to use it for travel. They're going to use it for other things other
Right.
than just getting new jerseys.
Right.
And that's
But
what I
believe
don't think.
that
I
some of
think
that
people
money
see
is
that money.
equipment and apparel. Equipment
Right.
as well.
And people see that money and they're like, oh, why can't they?
Right.
Well, there's a reason why the Kentucky athletic program and Kentucky basketball are self-sustaining. It's because they get money like that into the program to help cover the costs.
Big facts. Yep.
So I'm not worried. Should they have gotten more new jerseys sometime in the last 6 years? Yeah, probably just to freshen up the jerseys.
Well, they actually did, but it was like a difference in threading.
Right.
And small details like that.
Right. And that's usually what you see when you get an updated jersey. It's
Right.
not going to be some major redesign. I'm surprised it's gone 6 years
Yeah.
without getting new jerseys. But to me, that's not a huge deal. So there are other things to worry about other than new jerseys.
Right. I totally agree. So getting new jerseys, or as a fan,
Mhm.
are you yay or nay? Good.
Oh,
Good
yeah,
job.
it's
Looking forward
it's
to it.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they're going to bring out.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. Because it's always nice to see something different.
Right.
But
Especially with a brand new team.
right, and if the rumors are true, going back to the Rondo era look, and then you've got the talk that there's going to be a script jersey, which the baseball team already has the cream jerseys with the script Kentucky on it.
Right.
Like, to me, I
Oh,
like those cream jerseys.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the black. I know a lot of people are.
I am.
Yeah. I've never been a big fan of the black jerseys on the basketball side. I like Kentucky. I like the football's black jerseys.
Right.
But I've never been a huge fan of black jerseys on for a basketball team that's not typically a black team color. So, but that's just me. But I'm not gonna go crazy saying, "Oh, our colors are blue and white, and those are the only colors that we should have as jerseys."
Right.
So,
well, let me go in this direction. Kind of talking about Kentucky basketball. keeping with college basketball is a new rule change. No more flopping.
Mm-hmm.
The acting is over. Stop it, or you will be penalized straight from the go. There's
Right.
no more warning.
Which is good because it seems like when officials would give them a warning, that would be the last time they would call it.
Right.
So, and it's not just for flopping on a charge. So it's anytime you flop to try and get a foul called,
Before
which could
you
be
said that, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I figured because you
It's-
automatically think
you
charge.
automatically think charge. Yep.
Right.
But when I saw it was any faking of a foul. If you try and fake a foul,
Right.
so to me, that's any player, offensive or defense. You try and fake a foul, and it's an egregious type thing. Like you're going to get penalized for it. So that can be an offensive guy that doesn't even get touched and flails his arms and throws the ball out of
Right. Right.
You know,
So Tennessee's got to start from scratch.
Tennessee, Duke, Arkansas,
Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn plays that game. Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing if they actually go with it and enforce it. It's a good
right.
thing.
Right. Because the rules committee said, the warning just wasn't working.
Right.
These guys are still out there acting their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't. And the head of the rules committee, which is Bob Huggins, said, "Hey, automatic one shot, right? One shot tech." So I'm for it.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely hate flopping. When you think flop, what is the first flop that comes into your mind from past? Is it the Louisville flop?
I mean, that one's up there because
Right.
Dakari's elbow was a foot and a half away from this dude.
Right.
And
I
it
think
it looked like he was shot. It looked like he was shot. Man, there's a lot of them.
Right.
that
Right
come
off
to
the
mind.
bat, though, I think of Auburn and Louisville.
Right. I think they need to change the block charge rule completely because
Yeah.
going back to the 2020 season when Keon murdered the guy from Vandy and they called a charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a good thing that they're, as long as they enforce the rule
Right.
and don't get really lax with it like they did with the warning.
Yeah.
Because they really didn't enforce that.
Yeah, it didn't. It
at
didn't
all.
work.
Even though it was already on the books.
I saw it a handful
Right.
of times, and it's just like I said, they're out there acting their asses off, and
Yeah.
it's garbage. But so that's one of the things that I'm hyped up. New jerseys, no more flopping. Some of the things, while there are no games, but plenty of stuff out there to talk about. Also, keeping with Kentucky basketball, CJ Frederick's latest comments on the SEC defense. And I want to read a quote from him real quick before we actually talk about this. But it says, and I quote, "It was funny. A lot of the games I was sitting next to Riley Welch, who is a grad assistant, we would analytically look at the game differently," said Frederick. I was just amazed in the SEC how many open shots I could get. The way some teams in the SEC defend, I think I'll be able to help the team a lot. What did you get from that?
I love the confidence.
I love the confidence.
I love the confidence.
At the same time, it's a point of view of looking in, and it's totally different when you're in the game.
Right.
Do you think, knowing that he is a shooter, do you think that they're going to let you get those shots off?
No, they're not.
Absolutely not.
But I think his observation isn't totally crazy.
No. From his basketball IQ,
right?
No.
But that's also college basketball.
Right.
So if you've got a guy at the 3-point line that's not a threat, you're not going to defend him. So you're going to leave that dude open.
Exactly.
CJ Frederick is an absolute threat from the 3-point line. So there might be a little bit more attention paid to CJ Frederick when he's out there on the floor beyond the 3-point line when you're a career 47% shooter.
Right. So was that a slight toward his teammates?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, you know, because he's like, I'm looking at the game analytically.
Right.
Okay. You know,
But
if they know you can shoot, then they're going to be on your ass.
right.
So you're basically saying
but
these
Kellen,
guys.
but Kellen did get a shit ton
Right.
of wide open shots last year.
Right.
So in a way, like, is that necessarily crazy to think that, hey, I'm coming in that Kellen role, maybe, and I'm going to get a lot of those same shots, a lot of those wide open threes that Kellen was getting, and now I'm going to get them? No, because as a player, you want that confidence. As a fan, as a teammate, you want that confidence from a guy that you're watching on TV or you're playing with. So for him to think, man, I'm going to get a lot of great looks, it says more to what he thinks, not about his teammates, but about what they're running too.
Right.
Because the offense that you run also leads to what shots you get.
Right.
So if he was seeing a lot of open shots out there, to me, that's also confidence in him and the offensive philosophy that they have.
Right.
So
he basically said the SEC defense ain't shit.
Right. That's kind of what he did say.
Right.
But I get where I understand what he's saying, because there's a lot you can take from that quote, not just specifically focusing on the defense.
Yeah.
But SEC defenses, they like to be aggressive, pack in the paint. You know, when there's drives to the paint, when the ball goes in. So I see where he's talking about getting a lot of open shots, because
Right.
if the right pass is made when those defenses collapse, then yeah, there's always an open shot, because they're so aggressive in stopping the drive to the basket.
Right. Right. What do you?
And maybe that's what he's talking about, is when you see a guy drive to the basket or the ball goes inside, how aggressive SEC teams are defensively and defending the paint, and that's what's going to lead to his open shots. I can see that. I can follow that, because that's absolutely what the SEC does in defense.
Right. I picture him and Riley sitting on the bench going, "Oh man, you going for 30 right here. He going for 30."
And he might. There might be a game where he
oh yeah.
He hits 8 threes and
Yep.
gets 30 points.
Yeah. That might be one of my predictions. Shit.
Well, I'm sure you're going to predict he's going to break the school record for threes in a game.
Yeah, automatically. You already know. What do you think, Big Blue Nation? CJ Frederick's comments, confidence, slight, dog in the SEC. What do you think? Let us know. And let us know also on the no flopping. Do you like and the new jerseys? But we're going to keep it moving. Anonymous NBA executives.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the quote, of course. One executive talking shit basically about Shaedon Sharp. He says, how the fuck can you be the 5th pick in the draft if you haven't played in a year and a half? Question mark. It's not like it's James Wiseman and the guy is 7 feet tall. Show me where the 5-star shit is. Show me.
And he's got a point.
He does have a point.
He does have a point. He hasn't played in a year and a half. He's kind of an unknown. The last time you saw him play was what, October, November?
Yep.
In high school.
A lot of questions coming out of his camp. Dodged some press events, dodged some game events.
He didn't play 5-on-5 at the combine.
Right.
The workouts that he has done have been kind of made for Shaedon to highlight him. So he's got a point.
Right.
And all those questions would have been answered had he came back.
Right.
Or could have been answered had he came back.
My gripe is it's anonymous NBA executive.
And I was getting
if you're
to
going to
that.
say some shit like this, put a name with it.
Right. But you see that all the time, whether it's with NBA personnel or whether it's with college coaches when they do
Kills me.
when they do those articles, you know, an anonymous coach said this about NIL and this team in the NIL, what they're doing, you know.
That shit.
But if you're gonna say it, say it.
Yeah.
Like own it.
Yeah.
But I like, in a way, I understand as far as with the college coaches, because it's kind of a close knit. Like, we know the coaches that don't like each other.
Yeah.
But the coaches that do like each other, you know, they're not going to go on record with their name if they're saying something about that coach that they like, even though they think they're doing something shady. Right. So I get that to a certain extent. But then if you're not going to put your name on it, just don't say anything.
Right.
You know,
that's how I feel. Like, if you're going to comment, then put a name with it. Own that shit.
Own it. Yeah. Right. You know, so
that was the only thing, because I read it and I was like, that was one of the things that stuck out to me, was like, anonymous. I mean, like, own that shit. But at the same time, I was like, well, he does have a point. Right. You know, and that's his job.
And he absolutely has.
And also, we don't know a name. So how long has he been doing this job? Who is it? Like, is it some low level scout? Right.
Right. So you don't know who it is.
Right.
So that's another thing. Maybe it's not a guy that's making the decision. You know, maybe it's just some dude that was hired as an intern, but he's like, yeah, I'll talk to you. Nobody else talked to him. Dude. Nobody else talked to him, but I'll talk to you.
Right.
You know, so there's levels to it too when you're talking about NBA personnel, because it's not necessarily a GM or somebody that's making a decision.
Right.
It might be a low level scout that was willing to say something on the record without his name.
Right. He just got the real guy's coffee for him. It was like, oh, I'll say something to you.
Right.
Come on. And that's one of the reasons why, like, I mean, shit, I need to know who you are. Like, you've been in the game for a long time. This guy, such and such, knows what he's talking about. We should really take this serious, you know?
Right. Experience matters.
Right. Exactly. Yep. So, but from a fan's standpoint, I see the argument. Definitely. You know, you haven't played in a year and a half. There was questions coming out of your camp. A lot of deceiving things, you know, to the university that you chose to go to, and then how can we trust you? And you dodged the 5-on-5, you dodged the press, and just a lot of question marks. So but put a name on that shit. But that is where we are, moving straight through it, quick, short, sweet. But JD, you know what time it is.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And now it's time for the dumbest shit from Twitter this week.
It's dumb, dumbass.
That gets me at the end. It's dumb, dumbass. What do you got, JD?
First one. Let's go. And there was a lot of, and I get it's an opinion, but there was a lot of hate for John Wall the other day on the timeline.
Damn.
Saying he really wasn't that good. He's like the eighth or ninth. He's like the 8th or 9th best Cal player or player of the Cal era. You know, stuff like that. And one of them, I just grabbed this one because it was talking about whether John Wall made Kentucky cool again.
Right. And
we had a tweet from Brandon Weiss who said, no, he didn't. John Calipari, CAA, and Worldwide West rejuvenated UK basketball. Even if John Wall had never existed, the subsequent years go about the same way. Maybe they do, but not at the rate that they did.
Right.
Because, yes, Boogie was like when you're talking about Boogie and John Wall, Boogie committed first. Boogie signed first. And John Wall didn't sign until the middle of May. But I think everybody kind of knew he was going to follow Calipari to Kentucky. It wasn't a real surprise when he signed with Kentucky. So John Wall was the first recruit at that level to come to Kentucky, which then said to other recruits at that level, like Anthony Davis, like Nerlens Noel, Brandon Knight as the point guard. It said to these guys, I can go to Kentucky and I can be the guy, and I can
And John Wall had a whole lot of swagger.
Right. He made Kentucky cool. Like, he comes out doing the John Wall dance at Big Blue Madness.
Yeah.
And like to discount what John Wall meant to the rejuvenation of the program is slighting what John Wall did.
Right.
He comes out, he sets an all-time single season assist record as a freshman.
Yep.
He hits the game winner in his first game against Miami of Ohio. Now, granted, it was Miami of Ohio, but whatever. He very easily could have missed that shot and Kentucky loses to Miami of Ohio.
I mean, you're talking about a guy straight out of high school.
Right.
So on the biggest
he comes
stage
out,
in college basketball.
He's the number 1 overall pick to Washington. He was one of the top 10 players in the league.
Yep.
Before the injury started robbing him of his athleticism and his explosiveness. So to discount what John Wall did for the Kentucky program is having a clouded view of John Wall at Kentucky and what he did. Yes, Anthony Davis won a national title.
Right.
But that was built on the back of John Wall and Boogie.
Right.
In that first class that came to Kentucky.
Facts. What do you got next?
Did you watch the Tennessee Notre Dame game a couple days ago?
I didn't watch that. No.
So Notre Dame comes out and just absolutely lighten up Tennessee. It's 4 home runs, the first 4 innings, something like that. Then one of Tennessee's players gets ejected for arguing balls and strikes. And what do Tennessee fans do? They start throwing trash on the field. It was so bad they stopped selling beer at the concession stands.
Right.
Because the Tennessee fans were throwing the cans and throwing the bottles and throwing mustard bottles and all this other stuff on the field again.
This is a go-to for shitty Tennessee fans.
Yes. And when you go and look at when you look at that strike call, here's something you Tennessee baseball fans need to understand. It's not where the catcher catches the ball. It's where the ball crosses the front of the plate that determines whether it's a strike or a ball. And that ball, when it crossed that batter's front knee, it was at his knee. And it was diving down. So that ball, was it a borderline strike? Yes, it was. But was it a strike? Yeah, it was. It was almost a perfectly thrown ball at the low side of the strike zone. Because you can't get any lower than that and still get a strike call. He threw that perfectly.
Right.
And just because your coach is a whiny ass, and now your entire team is a bunch of whiny crybaby asses,
right,
doesn't mean that was the wrong call.
Yeah, that's the whole fan base too. Like they do it in football, they do it in
But
baseball.
I was watching. I think I might have turned the Notre Dame Tennessee game on yesterday, and I think it was Tom Hart that was calling the game. He was talking about their shirts now that's talking for Tennessee baseball. Bats and birds, we flip them both. Something to that effect. Like, is it really something to be proud of that you as a program, when you're rounding the bases on a hit, are flipping the bird to the outfield? Like, really? You think that's a good thing for your young fans to see your players doing as they round the base after a hit? Is flipping off the outfield? Like it or not, you're setting an example for those kids that are in the stands.
Right.
And when they see your players doing the stupid shit that they do, they think it's okay to do that stuff.
Garbage shit for a garbage program.
Like,
did they chuck mustard on the field? Mustard
yeah,
bottle? They've done that before.
Yeah, they did. And the funny thing is, Lane Kiffin actually, I think, retweeted that tweet and asked him where the golf balls were. So,
oh shit.
It's just it gets tiring to see this kind of trash stuff from that fan base. Like, it's one thing to complain. It's a whole different thing to be throwing shit on the field.
Yeah. Garbage fan base. What do we got next?
Next one is, and this isn't even going to be college sports related, Brian Bayless. So CBS Sports put out a list of the top 10 all-time defenders in the NFL.
Right.
And it had Prime was on there. Deion Sanders was on there. Deion has to be on that list because let's be honest, he's probably the greatest corner to ever play
in
the NFL.
Yep.
And old Brian here was like, don't you have to be interested in actually tackling someone to make the list? Deion, you gone. No. Because guess what? If you're a great cornerback, you don't have to tackle anybody because they don't throw the ball towards you. Like, that's the point of being a lockdown corner. Is that guy you're defending doesn't get the ball, so you don't have to make tackles.
Right. Man, oh man.
I don't like. And if you look at old Brian, if you look at old Brian's profile picture there, I don't think Brian's tackling anybody either. Like, come on, Brian.
Brian needs to tackle a new look.
Brian's sitting here trying to roast one of the greatest defensive players of all time, probably the best corner of all time, and you don't look like you can make a tackle in a middle school game.
Damn,
like,
Brian.
Come on, man.
Moving right along. What is next?
Sticking with the NFL, I'm sure everybody saw the quotes from Tyreek Hill. What was it? Was it Saturday? Friday? Something like that. He was on a podcast and he was asked, I think the question was, who's got the stronger arm? And obviously he said Mahomes over Tua. But then he kept on and was like, but if I'm talking accuracy, I'm going with Tua all day. Hey, really? I get you want to talk your guy up. Like, that's your guy now.
Right.
But just because you had issues in Kansas City and you weren't happy with what your role was, doesn't mean the stuff that's coming out of your mouth now is true.
I mean, I will say this. Tua does get the same Patrick rate.
And I did have this conversation with a Kansas City fan. Brian, I think he's one of our co-hosts on the space on Tuesday nights now. About that specific conversation, that quote from Tyreek Hill, and he pointed out that Tua's got a higher completion percentage than Mahomes. Okay,
right.
Completion percentage isn't everything, because yards per attempt tells you the difficulty of throw that's being made
Facts.
to lead to that completion percentage. So Patrick Mahomes has a higher yards per attempt, so he's making deeper throws. So yes, his completion percentage is going to be a little bit lower just on that fact.
Right.
But to come out here, what has Tua shown that he's in his time in the NFL, that he is a more accurate passer? And I get he was on a team that was kind of mishandled, and the stuff around him was mishandled. But come on, man! Like, Patrick Mahomes is one of the best in the league, and you're gonna come out here and say Tua is more accurate? Give me some more tape and some more success from Tua before I even start to entertain that thought from Tyreek Hill.
The more tape is let's go Bama.
Right. It's
And that
like
is it.
that was just it was funny when I saw that. But I mean, I understand where Tyreek Hill's coming from. You want to talk your guy up. You want to be like, he's the best. He's better. Like, I'm happy to be here. But are you going to be that happy when you're sitting there, you're 3 yards behind your defender and you're waiting on the ball because he doesn't have the arm he doesn't have the arm to get it to you,
right,
and hit you in stride when you're behind the defender? Now you got to stop and give that defender time to come and recover on the ball and maybe make a play. Like,
time will tell.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and that
but it goes the same way for Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, you lost Tyreek Hill, and he was able to make some plays because he was able to just, okay, Tyreek's out there, I can just chuck this ball up and Tyreek could go make a play for him.
Right. He had that.
Is he gonna have those guys to make those plays for him going forward? I don't know, because none of them were gonna have that speed that Tyreek Hill had to scare the defenses to be like, oh shit, Tyreek got behind me. And instead of finding the ball, they're just running for Tyreek. Because if you go back to the Browns game, first game of the year, that long Tyreek completion that Mahomes just chucked up, I think it was John Jones. Was it Jones? John Johnson. I think it was him that just sprinted back to where Tyreek was instead of finding the ball, because if he would have turned around and looked at the ball, that was an easy pick.
Right.
But Tyreek's speed scared him, and he was like, shit, I got to bust my ass back here to get to Tyreek, and that ball got completed.
A good reason for that, too.
Right. No, it is. But that's what I'm saying. Are these other guys that they've brought in to replace Tyreek Hill, are they is Juju gonna elicit that same kind of fear? Is Valdez-Scantling gonna elicit that same kind of fear? I don't think so.
Right.
So,
and that was the dumbest shit from Twitter this week. Wow, man. I mean, like I said, there's nothing, no games to talk about, football or basketball wise, but a lot of content out there to talk about players or tweeting and posting things, and New Jersey tees,
right.
Players comments, NBA comments. So there's stuff out there to talk about. You got anything to add, JD?
Not really. I do want to say thank you to all of our listeners who reached out to me this past week when I wasn't on the space, and asked me what was going on, and but thank you for all the well wishes and the get well soons and the thoughts, the prayers, whatever. I really appreciated it. I'm feeling quite a bit better now than I was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So thank you, sincerely. Thank you, everybody, for all the messages and everything that I got.
JD continues to recover. And also, once again, congratulations to the ladies track and field.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing job. We applaud you. Wildcats doing a thing. But that is
everything's cool.
yeah, that is where we are. Everyone have a great week. I'm your guy, Jay Hayes, and he is,
JD Hall.
and we are Religiously Kentucky.
Sadly, we're at the end. You've been listening to Religiously Kentucky. They say all good things must come to an end, and this was a damn good thing. But the good news for you is we'll be back soon. Thank you for listening to Religiously Kentucky. As you can see, we are not passing around the offering plates. Instead, we just ask you that you tell a friend about the show and tell them that the podcast is available on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find us on all social media platforms. Until next time, Big Blue Nation, this is Religiously Kentucky, signing off.